Let us begin by reading the word problem aloud. Fred ate 13 pieces of chocolate from a brand new box of chocolates. There are now 51 pieces of chocolate left. How many pieces of chocolate were originally in the brand new box? So again, our first step in our strategy for problem solving is always to analyze a problem. So let's go ahead and see what information we know. Well, we know Fred ate 13 pieces of chocolate from a brand new box. We also know that there are now 51 pieces of chocolate left. And the question states, how many pieces of chocolate were originally in the brand new box? So now we actually know what it is exactly we're trying to find. We want to determine the number of pieces of chocolate that are originally in the brand new box. Since that is what we're trying to find, that is going to be what we define our variable to be equal to. So here we go. So x is going to equal the number of pieces of chocolate that were originally in the brand new box. Again, most of the time this is usually coming directly from the question. So there's step 2, assigning the variable, and then we have already analyzed the problem. What we want to do now is form an equation from the information given. So now let's talk about a real life scenario. Imagine walking into a grocery store and you pick out your favorite box of chocolates. Now it's going to be a brand new box, so it's going to be untouched, unopened, and therefore it's going to have a full set of chocolates that have not been eaten yet. We don't know, in this case, the number of pieces Fred had in the original brand new box, but we do know that he ate 13 pieces of chocolate. And we know that the leftover pieces are going to be 51. So let's see. So ideally, you walk into a supermarket or grocery store and you have a certain number of pieces of chocolate in the brand new box. Then you're going to eat a certain amount from that, and then you're going to have what's called the leftover pieces of chocolate. So our equation is going to have the form original number of chocolates in the brand new box minus number of chocolates he ate equals the number of chocolates he now has, in which case the leftovers. So let's go ahead and start filling this in. Original number of chocolates. Well, we don't know what that number is because that's actually what we're trying to find. And then we're going to want to subtract from that number of chocolates he ate. From the given word problem, we know that he ate 13 pieces of chocolate. And how many does he now have? He now has 51 pieces of chocolate left over. So that's going to be our equation. X minus 13 equals 51. So let us go ahead and begin solving our equation. Again, the first step in solving the equation is copying down the original equation found in step 3. So x minus 13 equals 51. Now, the goal is to get the x completely isolated by itself on the left-hand side of the equation. So currently, on the left-hand side of the equation, we have x minus 13. So we're subtracting 13 from x. We want to undo this subtraction, and the only way to undo subtraction is through the opposite operation, which is addition. So what we're going to do, we're going to want to add 13 to both sides. So by adding 13 to both sides, on the left-hand side, we're going to have a minus 13 plus a 13, so it's going to simplify out. So we're going to be left with simply x, which is what we desire to have. So now we're going to have to add 51 plus 13. Let's go ahead and do that off to the side as scratch work. 51 plus 13, so 1 plus 3 gives us 4, and then 5 plus 1 gives us 6. So x equals 64. So now that we know what x is equal to, we actually know our answer to the question. Now the question was, how many pieces of chocolate were originally in the brand new box? So let us go ahead and state our conclusion clearly. So then our response to the question is going to be, there were 64 pieces of chocolate originally in the box. And again, our conclusion is basically the question to be answered reworded in the form of a statement. So the question asked how many pieces of chocolate were originally in the brand new box. There were 64 pieces of chocolate originally in the, go ahead, add the specifics, brand new box. There we go. So now let us check the result. So again, just like when solving the equation, the first thing we want to start off with is the original equation found in step 3. So x minus 13 equals 51. However, when you check the result, we plug in the values that we already know. So we know x is equal to 64. So then we have 64 minus 13 equals 51. On the right hand side, there is nothing left to simplify, so we're just going to bring on down that 51. And then on the left hand side, we're going to have to do 64 minus 13, so we'll do that off to the side as scratch work. So we're going to do 4 minus 3, it's going to give us a 1. And then we're going to have to do a 6 minus a 1, that's going to give us a 5. So 64 minus 13 is equal to 51. Now, is 51 equal to 51? Yes, it is. So we have a true statement, and therefore our solution is correct.